Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. We have my next guest on, who I guess in a way might be the how do I say this? Kind of one of the founding members of the podcast, or maybe the one of the idea makers behind the podcast. One of my best
Yeah.
friends, Aliaa, and I always pronounce your last name wrong. We've been friends for years, and I never got it right, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Zulkifli. See, I'm just never got
Zulkifli, but
it. I call you Aliaa Z. We know we never gotten this right.
yeah, exactly.
So
Never
lovely
got my
last
first
name though.
after 10 years.
I've never. If I ain't got it right by then it's just not happening.
There you go. There you
You know
go.
what my friend Sam? Sam's last name. It took me years. Sam I used to say Verito, and I still can't get it right to this day. It's been like 15
Yeah.
years. Like
Just take it. You're like really
Sambi.
bad
I
with
was
names.
like Sambi. Oh man, I know. You know I am. I'm sorry, who?
Yeah. I know it's your podcast. I'm roasting you already, so this is gonna be a fun
That's
podcast.
literally that's one of the things we talk about is how I never get anyone's names correctly. I fuck up everyone's name, but
Yeah.
that is my thing. But welcome to Comfortable Being Uncomfortable, Aliaa.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it would be I think it'd be almost a year that we had this concept. Me, you, and Shauna came up with this and thought about this and was like, this should be something we do. And really brainstormed it for me to kind of branch out and do it and see it kind of evolve. A little traction here and there, but really now getting to that kind of like host seat and really taking on like really people and understanding stories and understanding just life in general and being more open to possibilities of different things.
Yeah.
That's been really great. But what do you think as an outsider, hopefully a listener, maybe listen to one or two, what do you think of the show? What do you think of the series so far?
I love the series. I think, like you said, you're comfortable by being uncomfortable, right? So you kind of touch on not just one topic. You literally touches on, again, whatever we're going to be talking about. You talk about films, you talk about all the other things. So I think, the genre is pretty big. And then you should not pigeonhole yourself. So I think people will get very, very much hooked with yours. So.
Yeah, I think I've getting a little bit of traction outside of maybe you and like 5 other friends. People are starting, so it's good. It starts with a small audience.
No, you need to start somewhere. And I also remember how we talked about podcasts. I remember where we started the conversation and then how it started, and I'm so proud of you. So,
oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, Podmatch has been, this is not a sponsorship, but Podmatch has been a really great platform.
Sponsor.
I know, right? It's not a sponsor, but it's been a good platform to really bring other podcasters together and really have great candid conversations and kind of have a very holistic view on it and kind of gather information for both sides because it's such a vast network of people. There's a vast network of podcasting that goes into doing a podcast. It's great to kind of see that level of difference, but also the variety that's out there and how you kind of keep your audience to kind of keep that message going. Whether it be funny, whether it be serious, whether it be all over the place, because there are some podcasts like that. It's great to have that variety. And I think I've been learning that in this process. So we started season 2 and I'm already on 12 episodes so far, which is pretty good. So
yeah,
good momentum.
Yeah. Pretty good momentum. You've been recording quite a bit, and then you do have a lot of topics going on. Starting from pretty much nothing, and then nothing at all, and don't even have equipment, and then talking about art, talking about film. Now we're talking about friendship and everything else that I'm doing with marketing. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm proud of you and the podcast.
Oh, well, thanks, love. I appreciate that. Well, enough about me. Let's talk about you. So, Aliaa, tell us a little bit who you are, kind of your background, your story, and kind of, which is really incredible to learn about you, and as I learned over the years. But just tell us as an audience who Aliaa is in a nutshell.
Aliaa Zulkifli came from Malaysia. I moved to Malaysia. I moved to New York about 13, 14 years ago to further my education. I took MBA, And then from there, I literally had a lot of internship because I don't want to pigeonhole myself a lot.
Yeah.
My expertise is usually in marketing and digital marketing, but I was like, I went to film. That's how we met, actually. Tribeca Film Festival,
Yeah.
another shout out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I did a lot of films. I did like obviously marketing. I did a lot of that's apps and startups and stuff like that. So I mean, that's how I start my footings here. But right now, I'm a senior director of performance marketing for Alice and Olivia. So
Good.
all the things, all the junk emails that you get, all the
That's you.
podcasts, everything else, it's me, someone like me that is doing it. But for the
Yeah.
most part, like I'm from Malaysia and I studied in Australia for a year, and then I came here. So that's kind
Wow.
of like a nutshell of my story.
And ideally, this is, what you talk so much about is like coming here as a woman of a minority descent and like kind
Yep.
of stepping into this world, which New York City is obviously well diverse in the case is, but there's always challenges, right? And there's always a
It's so
part of
tough.
unknown. Because did you ever visit the US when you were younger? Did
Yeah,
you?
so so my parents studied here
Oh,
when
okay.
I
Okay.
was 2 years old.
Yeah.
So and then like they left me to further their education for a bit, and then I was back in Malaysia, but I stayed here for probably 6, 7 months when they were finishing their education
Hmm.
in Connecticut. So that's my first time in America, but
Wow.
I came
Ross
to
Middle USA.
I
Right.
know, but I came to visit New York when I was 18 or 17, and I knew that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna move to New York one day, and I made that happen, really. And I don't
Wow.
have anyone here.
You
Um,
just did it blind. You're just like, all right, I'm doing it. That's it.
yeah, I was
Wow.
like, okay, it's either London or New York, and I applied for both.
Hmm.
And then somehow, both of the offer, I prefer New York, and I came here, and I literally started from nothing. I didn't have any bank account and anything else.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, I mean, starting from nothing is hard, but it made who I am right now, and
Yeah.
it's been 14 years. So
Geez, 14 years. You're
yeah,
just a vast amount of knowledge and information, what you learned. And then, what has helped you the most? Has it been friendships? Has it been your career? Like, what has really made you say, New York is my home and I love it here and I want to keep being here and I want to be that classic New Yorker, as they always said?
yeah, I mean, classic New York when people will be like, "Oh, I fell in love with the energy," but literally when you talk about energy, it's about the people, right? Like the people
Yeah.
that you have around you. That what makes it home, and that's
Hmm.
where the energy you're getting, literally. So, obviously, from my friends, and then obviously my family came down here. My aunt and two cousins moved after a year that I moved here.
Oh,
So
wow.
at
Yeah.
least I have that. Um, but what makes New York a classic New York story for me is, yeah, I moved here with two suitcases in hand, don't know anyone, but the
Wow.
people that I'm friends with really make New York for me. And obviously, right now, my job, like I love my job, but I think if I can pick one, I think it's definitely the people around me.
Yeah. And then you've always had a background in marketing. Is it something you always, excuse me, something you always passionate about or something you always want to do? Was that always your kind of niche that you felt like this is where I want to be?
Yeah, I mean, in high school, I was like, okay, you have to pick where you want to go in your career. I was like, what do you want to
Hmm.
be when you grow up?
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, maybe I want to be in events. So that's where kind of my mindset was. But I'm like,
Right.
okay, maybe I don't want to be in events. So I started doing PR, which is somewhat marketing. And then I was like, oh, digital marketing at that time was like starting out. We're
Yeah.
that old, like really starting. I remember Friendster.
Oh, wow.
uh,
Whew.
yes, Friendster, MySpace, everything was just starting out. So I
Right.
was like, okay, digital marketing is the way to go for the future because it did literally just starting out when I was
Yeah.
in college. So yeah, I mean, basically, it's always marketing. It's always digital marketing.
That's amazing. And then you've definitely been in like TV and film, but then fashion is where you are now. Like, did you always have that affinity for fashion? And I remember, I mean, I know you have because we've been going to fashion shows and stuff for years, but like, was it always something you loved about fashion that made you feel like this is where I can connect these two worlds of mine, marketing and fashion, and be boom, make that happen.
Yes and no. I
Oh,
mean, yeah, I mean, fashion is not really where the first place I went to for work before.
okay.
It's always in the background of what I do because
Mm-hmm.
I was always, my first job outside of college was a writer. And then
Mm,
from there, somehow I got into fashion writing, because they know that I love fashion. I like kind of look at trends and stuff like that. So I think that's
right.
where it came from, but it was never into like, this is what I need to do in fashion. But other than that, it's just like it just snowballed that I'm in fashion. I was in footwear fashion, and then I'm in the contemporary women's fashion and
Mm-hmm.
like luxury fashion. So yeah, I mean, that's a crazy way to look at it. Like I never try to be in fashion, but
It just kind of
somehow it
always fell
just,
back to you.
yeah, it
Yeah.
always go back to fashion for me. And in my first outside, yeah, my first job outside of college was a fashion writer. I was a fashion writer for Cosmopolitan
Yeah.
magazine, and I was like, okay, I liked it, but it's like a lot of writing. So I'm
Oh, of
like,
course. Yeah. It's a lot that goes into that. And I kind of feel like we were on the same path of where we connected because I was kind of like always into film and TV, but I was always into like production and I was always into like kind of the finance of things. I understand how that kind of works, like what we spend money
yeah,
on, what's how we make films and, the process of it. And for some reason, I ended up back in finance of all places that I do not love, but I
but is it
think
crazy?
it's
Yeah,
but it's like a level of comfort, but also it's like I know I can do it, and it's a world that I feel connected to. Not to the point of like I'm a definite finance bro, but like I kind of understand concepts and ideas behind it. But I always tried to blend it too, kind of what you said earlier. I tried to blend entertainment with finance. I did for a short time.
yeah,
Unfortunately, the company I work for was shit. But I think it was a good experience. And I think after I came back from the Walt Disney Company, it was kind of like my eyes were like wide open and realizing entertainment's a world that's like, which is like fashion. It's a lot to process and take in, and not that finance is any different, but it, it's a level of mental capability you're able to handle and do. But also
yeah,
sometimes you have to realize you have to evolve. And that's to say it's never a closed door. But
yeah,
every job you take in a way kind of circles back one way or another. So I look at it, it's
right?
like it's gonna come back one way or another, regardless of how I feel about it. If you're meant to be in a world or a certain industry, and that tells a lot of young people who are kind of always struggling, um, you'll find your way to it. It may not come to you right away, but
Yeah.
you'll find
I
your way
mean,
back to it.
you have to like find your path, and then whatever
Yeah.
opportunity that you get in front of you, take it. Obviously, think about it, think about yourself, think about your family and whatever, as long as you don't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And later on, everything that you learn, good job, bad job, mediocre job, it's still a learning process for you. And in the
Yes. Yeah.
end, you'll be like, oh, I've learned this from my shitty job, but you
Mm-hmm.
become a better manager, you become a
You did.
better mentor, you become a better, team player. So I mean, at least for me, when I start my any job, it's that way. It's like anything that I don't like or I like, it's just an experience that we need to face really.
Yeah. And you've been in the marketing world for such a time, being a woman of color, how has that process and journey been? Because I'm pretty sure it's not been easy for you because I feel like A, you're a woman, B, you're a woman of color. So it has to be so much shit you had to put up with or deal with. And then it probably broke you at some point being like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just women of color. I'm also an immigrant, right? So you like
Mm,
put another chat box over there. So I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of, again, to me, as a minority in the marketing world, especially when I was starting out in the industry,
Yeah.
it, no one really looked like me at all, or
Yep.
know
Hmm.
where Malaysia is from, like don't know anything about
Yeah.
my country or where my background was. It was hard. It was hard. But again, from that experience, you just really need to believe in yourself and be
Yeah.
like, okay, I deserve to be here. Like I
Hmm.
got this job because of me. And
Yeah.
I learned and I worked so hard for this. So I think for me, you have to have obviously tough mental stability to be like,
Yeah.
okay, well, yeah, trust me, I do have the imposter syndrome. time to time. I think we're all humans, we have that.
Of course you
But
do.
sometimes you just have to go to somewhere and be like, okay, well, I deserve to be here and I need to do this job very well. And I
Yep.
need to obviously network and do a lot of things. So that's how I started. And then from there, you'll be like, okay, well, this table, if they can fit this table, I'm definitely gonna
You can
take
fit
that
there. Yeah.
chair. I'm
Yeah.
gonna like slide in and be like, hey, I'm Aliaa, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So
Yep. That's good. I mean, and you didn't let that adversity kind of hold you back. I feel like it's always tough to kind of go through those things in life, but I think you get to learn. I think in the most uncomfortable way of having a conversation, I feel like because I have maybe been a lot more privileged than I probably should have in my life, I never really experienced the level of backlash that a lot of people have probably felt. I think the only thing I probably think is maybe different was like coming out or like, realizing that you're gay and like you have to realize
yeah.
in that world, it's like now, it's one thing if you're black, now you're also gay. So it's like, well, do I tell that to my employers? Do I talk about that? Am I allowed to do that? And when I got into the entertainment world, everyone's a homo. We all know that. So ideally it was fine, but when I was in that first
Yeah.
level of structural like finance job I had way back, it's like, oh, where's your wife? Where's your girlfriend? You're like, oh,
So now with the bros, now you're like literally hanging out
right,
with the bros.
right.
So you're comfortable enough, but you're also uncomfortable,
But you're
right?
also dying inside a little bit because you
Right.
can't really talk about like who you are and like who you want to be. But then you also want to be good at your job. And then there has been cases back in the day where that was the thing. You were fired for being gay. Like you were
Yeah.
like let go. It's like bye. That's it. In certain states and places, that was a thing. And so I mean, I grew up in California, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so obviously it's a lot of diversity, and I grew up in Castro, so it's not like I didn't have it. So that's why I feel like I'm a little privileged because I was lucky enough to live in big cities where it wasn't hard, but at the same time, it's still a level of self-discovery. And the one thing I would take away from Disney was that it taught me to just learn to be yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
Disney was the place to kind of really figure out who you were, and I think I did when I was there, and I was like, all
Yeah.
right, this is who I am.
For me, like my first job that we're talking about, like Disney, my first job that made me really have to be because I'm kind of a introverted extrovert, whatever they call it.
You? No.
Yeah, so I'm that way. Like I can be alone and then I love people and then but I need to recharge myself.
Oh,
But
yeah.
my first ever job waiting for college and even when I was in college was Starbucks. Starbucks taught
Wow.
me a lot about being obviously people person and
Yes.
then
Yeah.
resilient and like because some people don't like their coffee. They're like, what is this? And stuff like that.
Hmm.
So you have to really figure out how to, stand on your own and like
Yeah.
be be in front of people. I think Starbucks taught me a lot of un- being comfortable with like when it's busy because you are
Yes.
dealing with a lot of people like
You're
a
dealing with a
lot of
lot of
personalities.
people. Yeah. And you have to learn to, you're right. And I think jobs like Disney and Starbucks, like that level of customer service. And I've been a server when I was a kid. And so you learn different personalities of people. It teaches you a lot, and
Yeah.
you have to realize the bigotry that's in the world. I remember, I think I told you a story. I remember one time I worked at Disney. I was at the Epcot Food and Wine Festival. So I was working there. And I don't know if it was intentional or whatever happened, but we have different kiosks. Now, if anyone doesn't know, Epcot has an international food festival every year in the fall, food and wine festival. There are different foods and cultures from around the world because Disney wants to be culture. That's what the whole theme park's about, like bringing different cultures around the world. And now in my back of my head, I'm like, it's for white people to feel like they're connected. This is how I felt about it. But that's just my opinion on it. But I digress. But ideally, we got put in pavilions, like different. They say, okay, you're going to work in this pavilion, you're going to work here at this kiosk or this booth. And for some reason, Ali, I was always stuck in the Africa booth. And I'm like, of all the
That's so
booths
bad.
you can
Yeah,
like
out of
put
all
me
the
in
food that you can put me in, you
anywhere.
put me in the Africa. Like,
Right.
really? Okay.
And
Yeah.
so this person was very ignorant, and I don't think she meant to be ignorant because I think
Yeah.
now I'll give you the concept of what Epcot is. It's about bringing people from different worlds around the world to work in these different pavilions. So you'll have people from like China, from Japan, I said
Yeah.
Scandinavia, but you know what I mean, like the different countries. And so, and by theory, you think when you have the Food and Wine Festival, you think they're bringing people from those different places as well. They're like, oh, if I'm bringing food from this country, this is what I'm supposed to do. So this poor uneducated lady calls up and she goes, "Oh," and at this time I didn't go by Deck. I think I went by my full name, which is Dakari, but I kept it ethnic. So I wore it, and she goes, "Oh," she was like, "So you're from South Africa, huh?" Even though my name tag said Oakland, California. So I don't know where she got that from, but I'm like,
is she from here? Like, is she from
she's probably
US?
American. Yeah, she's probably yeah. And I'm
Okay.
like, okay. And so I get, no, I'm not. She goes, "Oh, I heard they just brought you guys from all over." I'm like, what? And she's like, "Yeah, I've been there before on this big trip." Like, she's probably one of those like people who like, take trips and safaris to feel like connected with the world and whatever, which, do your thing. It's fine. But it was like, it was so.
I think what she wants to do is to be connected to you, but it's like on a, I'm sorry, it's a racist basis.
Right,
Where I'm
exactly.
like, why are you trying to have a conversation with me?
Also, yeah, like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? So then I was like, all right, I'm not going to be upset about it. But also, it was kind of like, it's a teaching moment. And I had one of my best friends who I'm still friends with to this day. We were both working the kiosk. She happens to be black as well, too. We're just looking at each other like, did this bitch just say this? So
No,
like,
that's so
but
bad.
it's like, it's the
But that was
level.
before, right? Like, it's,
Yeah,
they changed
they
and
changed. And
yeah.
everything's been different since, obviously, we've grown as a country and people and stuff. But back to my original stories, I'm saying, like, you have to be in those levels of being uncomfortable and being like, what do I say in this situation? It's my job. I can't go off and be like, I have to be in this whole Disney mindset of like, yeah, oh, great, awesome, wonderful, have a magical day, bye. So it's like how much integrity you could take. But I did appreciate, I did have a boss that really was kind of like, I talked to her about it and she says, "I'm going to get you out here and like to see different things." And because of her, I was able to kind of experience different parts of the kiosks. Because at the same time, I wanted to learn too. Because I didn't want to be that dumb American who just didn't know anything about different worlds or cultures or foods and stuff. Because I think one of the problems with America today. It's like a lot of Americans. There's nothing against America. I'm not coming against Americans. Don't come for me. I think America's great, but I think some Americans don't take the time to really understand other cultures. And as you mentioned earlier, it's like the parts of immigrants. Oh, get the immigrants out, but like they kind of built our country in a way. Like they kind of given us things. It's like,
have you seen the restaurants? Like,
right. I'm like, it's like, and one of the best things about the New York City is that you had a level of diversity in that growth. And so I think it's better to like get out of your comfort zone and learn that more. And I think that's one of the things that always hurt me about America. Or what I didn't like about America was that some people, not everyone,
yep.
there's a chance to understand cultures and different people and understand this. I mean, I went to school with people who were from the Philippines,
Yep.
who were, from different parts of the region, Asian culture, Hawaiian, everything. So, like, I mean, like I said, I feel like when my privilege comes in, like, my mom purposely put me in a school where she was like, "I'm not gonna put you in this, I'm gonna say ghetto ass school, but like a school was pretty much not known for like that level of diversity. It takes you a place where you can get that diversity." And I think that was kind of my first indication with like being understanding, being more acceptable, being more like gracious about it. But also a lot of people don't have that opportunity as well.
Yeah.
And I have to remember that. Like everyone didn't have the same upbringing I did. Everyone's not the same, and it's different, I'm pretty sure you look at some Americans, you're like, these fucking Americans, like they get on fucking nerves,
I just talking about like your upbringing, right? And then my upbringing. Malaysia, we have 3 different races. So I'm Malay, and then we have Chinese and we have Indian in Malaysia.
Yeah.
But in Malaysia, it's flipped. So I'm a minority here. In Malaysia, I'm a majority. So
Right. Yeah.
so I've kind of like know both. That's one to put it. But like in Malaysia, we have that culture understanding of like, oh, you celebrate different things than me.
Yeah.
You pray to a different God than me. Like all of that, I think it's again got me to where I am of understanding of like, oh,
Yeah.
my way of understanding the world is different than a lot of people. And it's fine because we're all humans. So you cannot have like, okay, one way and that's it, because that's not how the world works, unfortunately. But
we like to think it does.
So that's like my upbringing, where it's very diverse, and where I lived in Malaysia too before was very diverse too. So
yeah. And you coming over here, like that's the one thing I say is like a lot of people who come over to America come with that kind of background of realizing that you come from a world where like it is different,
yeah.
And you're not all the same. Where I feel like in America, I understand we're all not different. The South is different, the West is different, New York is different, but we kind of like look at people. Oh, I think that always is a pet peeve of mine with people. And I was like, oh, why do you like New York City? Like, how do you stand this and that? And I'm like, listen, don't talk shit about my city. Does it
Yeah.
get on my fucking
No.
nerves? Of course it does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it where I was born and raised? No. But was it
It's
somewhere
like
I was going to be a
love-hate
part of me?
relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
But is it a place that I always knew I wanted, like you, always knew I wanted to be at and like have a part of my life? Of course.
Yeah.
Florida was an accidental loop into my life. But like, you know, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, don't talk shit about New York, you know? And also it's like, because you either had a bad experience or like, it's not for you. Now you want to shit on it. It's like, just be like, it's not for me. That's what you have to learn people that agree or disagree. I don't like small towns. I will be the first to say that. But I have learned in my experience of life and growing, because I had friends who, when I worked at Disney, I had a lot of friends who would come to Disney because they had a different culture and people come from small towns. I learned that there's so much culture in small towns. There's different people and different backgrounds. And I had to learn to like really open my eyes to that, you know, and I think having that kind of background of being in New York City and, you know, being at Disney really taught me to be like, people are different. And it doesn't mean that you're a narrow-minded person. You just come from different background, like than anyone else.
Your upbringing are different. So the way that you view the world and the way that you view my apple are different than the way you value your apple. So I mean, doesn't mean it's wrong. So or right even. So
no,
that's you just have to embrace the differences between you know for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that we also got to dive into is about the anxiety and mental health in today's world, because I think, you know, you maybe had yourself in mind to struggle with it, and I think I probably did along the way as well. Is that and COVID obviously did a lot of that.
100%.
A lot of people. You know, I always try to tell people it's important to feel like you have a voice to say something, you have a platform to say something, you have a space where it's okay to really connect and be yourself. Mm-hmm. And you got to find a tribe of people that's really going to understand what that is for you. And I think we have to be better about realizing what anxiety is and how that can lead to a certain level of like mental health instability. I had to educate myself because I used to think when people said anxiety, they're just like being dramatic. Okay, you're excited. Okay, whatever. Like, come on. Like, it ain't that fucking serious.
We came a long way, though. Like, as a society, the way that we talk about anxiety and mental health issues, meds or before meds, I think it's very open now, and people don't have the stigma the way that it was before.
And it's almost like it's you kind of, I wouldn't say wear it as a badge of honor, but you're able to use that to maybe help someone else. I think.
Right.
It's a way of saying like, hey, I kind of feel the same way you feel. You're not alone, because I think a lot of times we get this level, I'm alone, the level of depression, and like, it's not a place they feel they can connect. And I think, like you said, we're coming further in life where we're like, it's okay to talk about those things. You know, I talk to my friends about therapy. I mean, one of my good friends is a therapist, you know, Jen. So I'm like, I talk to her about stuff all the time. So it's kind of like, it's okay to kind of go through that and be okay with just not feeling okay.
Exactly. I wanted to say that. I was like, it's okay not to be okay. Like, we're all, again, we're talking about humans. Like, we have feelings. Some days we're off. Some days we're like very happy. We wake up like, wow, what's happening to me? I'm so happy. Some days you're going to be crying. It's fine. That's human. Like, we're human. We should not be a robot that be like, okay, we have to be like happy all the time. And going back to anxiety, I think a lot of people really, you know, fast track their anxiety during COVID, because literally you have to be alone for the most part. If you have a partner, you will be a partner. But like for me, I live alone, right? You live alone. So it's literally you're with yourself, and then you start thinking, you started doing things that you're like, oh, I don't do this anymore, let me do it again. And then all the memories of like, oh, I did this before, whatever will come back. I think that's where a lot of people have a lot of anxiety, especially during COVID. But again, at least for me, I started therapy a couple of years ago, like way before COVID. And going back to my upbringing in Malaysia, it's a taboo thing. Like, you go to therapy, it's like, what's happening? What's happening with us? What's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you. But sometimes therapy, going back to like anxiety and mental health, therapy helps, because sometimes you need that mediator to be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is the way you're thinking about life or about yourself or about anything else and that's happening to you. But that person going to be like, no, but what if you think about it this way? You know what I
Mm.
mean? So then
Really
your
challenge you
anxiety,
to think in a way, like really makes you say, okay, what do I need to do? Because, like you said earlier, you could get kind of in a rut and be
yeah,
stuck and be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Or like, how do I get out of this? How do I stop being depressed about stuff? How do I get negative energy out of my life? How do I go on the path to like find a level of happiness? Not that there's to be a short thing of bliss and always happiness, but
no,
like helping
exactly.
you get away where you feel happy getting out of bed. That's what I say. If you can feel happy about getting out of bed, you feel happy about certain things in life or little small things, I think that goes a long way.
Even the small tweaks that you're doing in your life, you don't need to, if you don't have the insurance or whatever, I mean, you don't have the money to go for therapy, but there's other things like you can do
Mm-hmm.
journaling. You can go for a walk for like 2, 3 blocks, like
Meditating.
meditate, listen to your favorite song or do
Yeah.
whatever, like listen to your favorite song and try to cook. I mean, some of my friends said that that's their therapy of cooking. That's a lot of things that you can
Yeah.
do for just to help your anxiety and obviously your mental health because it's very important. I think mental health is very important. If you don't have a very stable mental hygiene, everything around you
So like
is
this
just
hygiene.
gonna,
It's maintenance. You got to keep it. You got to keep it in
yeah,
check. I
it
like
is a
that.
hygiene. Like, yeah, to
Yeah.
me, yeah, people talk about mental health, but to me, it's like you have to really, when you know that your mental is not strong, you just have to like pull back slightly and be like, I need this for myself. I need
Yeah.
to like do things that make me happy, listen to a song. I don't know what, like if you like to travel, go
Uh
alone, like
huh.
do whatever. That's like, okay. And then you come back and be like, you be not only you're better for yourself, you're better for your friends, you're better for
Yeah.
your job, like um all of that.
I want to start charging my friends because they seem to think I'm a therapist, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm giving you this advice for free. This is bullshit. Like I talked to my therapist about this, and he goes, how do you feel about because one of my major issues, or three of my major issues I've had is um dealing with grief and loss. I lost
Yep.
both my dad and my stepdad. Dealing with family, and dealing with friendships, but also knowing your capacity for what you could take in and learning to say no,
Yeah.
which we all know is very hard to do.
It's hard. Yeah.
No, anyone tells you it's easy, they're full of shit. It's not right. But also being, not giving so much that you're not giving yourself. I think a lot of times you want to be a good friend and be there for someone, but at the same time, it's like, I didn't have time for myself to think about things and learning to just be like, you know what, I should probably just take a day for myself
Yeah.
and then be okay with that and not feel guilted by that or feel like shit by other friends for making you feel crazy for saying you want to take time for yourself. Like, you want time for yourself. What's up with that?
Yeah.
It's
So
like,
what are you doing? Like, yeah, you're why? It's like,
bitch, you
but
get on my nerves. That's why.
and I
you
think
know?
one like my therapist said this to me. It's very clear way. It said that Aliaa, you cannot give to the society, meaning everyone around me and everything that I'm doing, if
Yeah.
your cup is empty.
Mm-hmm.
You need to
Mm-hmm.
fill your cup first.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's also the reason why when you go to an airplane, they said put your mask first if the oxygen instead of putting it someone else first. You need to put the
Yeah.
oxygen first to you before you're giving to others because again, yourself is it's very important because people can see your energy, people can know that you're down,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just affects a lot of people. So I
Yeah.
think that's what my therapist was saying to me.
I always tell people, get out there, find someone to talk to, and it could be a
Exactly.
friend, it could be a therapist, it could be just someone, it could be a family member. Find your level of comfort, and then you'll be good. You know,
Yeah.
don't ever
Find
feel like
something
there's
that
no hope
makes
to
you
God.
happy. Even if it's
Yeah,
the like light for 2 minutes, just do it. Like listen
yeah,
to that favorite song. You don't have to
yeah.
do like this extravagant thing. Just
I
listen to
love
the
it.
favorite song.
Yeah.
Um, so
And that goes into our. I think we both are with this. It's like you have so many friends, Aliaa.
oh my God, you too.
How do you keep the peace when tension arises?
How do you keep the peace? It's hard. I mean, to me, yes, I do have a lot of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I have friends. with a different time zone, which is another layer of
Mm-hmm.
like craziness. But I still have all my oldest friends. Like I have the oldest ones since I know her since I was 9.
Yeah.
And then some are 13, 14, 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think you just have to go through with it and you have to have a good communication, really. Yeah.
It's true.
You don't have to talk every single day because obviously we have other things in our life. But
yes.
as long as you have
Preach.
as long as you have good intention and they know when you're actually together or when you actually do ask them, like, hey, how are you? They know you're like really genuinely interested in knowing what they are doing and how they are doing with their life. I think that's how I maintain my friendship for a very long time.
And I think I call those I would say the distant friends, but also like the low key friends, which seem to be the best friends. I have
low
friends like
friends.
that. Yes, where I have those friends where I can call them up and maybe a month or two we haven't seen each other, but when we get together, it's not like nothing has changed. We get back together, we talk, we catch up. And I love that in a way because it gives me a chance to really get to know more about them and their lives. Nothing. I'm not going to.
Not like you don't know anything about them.
No, you don't know anything about them. But it's also like I like that level of understanding. Like they're a busy person. They have a busy career. They have a full life, and I respect that about them.
Yeah.
And it's not against people who spend all the time together. That's fine too.
No, you can too. Exactly.
You can do whichever one. But I think we need to like hype up these low maintenance friends because these are people who you may not see as much, but are always in your life, are always there for you, always rooting for you from the back of the scenes, which I think is always amazing. But check in from time to time and just say, hey, girl, how you doing? Or, hey, boy, it's good. I haven't seen you in a while. Like, hey, you happen to be in town. Let's catch up.
Yeah.
I feel like New York City teaches you that in a way. And maybe it's other big cities too. But I feel like, you remember when you were kids and you used to be like, oh, I'm going to go over to Johnny's house and hang out and watch after school specials. You can't do that nowadays. People got do that. Pilates classes or the happy hours or dinners or it's hard. I mean, even for me and you, it's like I
wanted to say that. Like, okay, talking about being uncomfortable, it's like for us, we have to really book like way in advance. I think, but that when I'm hanging out with you, I am hanging out with you. I'm not like I'm not on my phone. Like I'm not doing any of that, and there's nothing. Like I'm busy. We're all busy. So
we are.
When we're together, I think that's where it's important to make sure that your friendship, you talk about everything that's like going on with your life. And then communication is very important. As like, if I hurt your feelings or like, hey, I need you to spend more time with me or whatever, then I think that's the first thing that you have to maintain is the line of communication.
I mean, listen, it was a struggle with you because you live in Brooklyn. I don't go to Brooklyn. So.
Yeah, long distance relationship, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm like, oh, Brooklyn. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah. Remember Red Hook?
Okay, fine. Okay, I know I lived there for a short period of time. Okay, I'm not going to take that out of my life. I know that. But that was a short stint. I learned a lot about myself. But I'm back where I'm supposed to be in Manhattan.
Manhattan. Yep, right there. You can see Empire State Building over there.
I realize where I'm supposed to be, and nothing else. Granted, it's nothing against Brooklyn. Brooklyn's a great space, but it's nice. But it's just a fucking journey to get there sometimes. I'm like,
it is, especially over the weekend. Totally get it. Like over the weekend, it's hard. Even to come, like for me to come to the city, it's hard.
Yeah.
So how everyone listening, how we hang out is like after work sometimes.
It's like, I will go if I have to, but I'm also like, do I really need to go? Like, do I have to go? But, I've learned to get better. I've been a little brat, but I've gotten better. I said, let's meet in Brooklyn because I need to expand my horizons and learn different neighborhoods and different that. So, and also I bike more too. So, like, I start biking.
Connecticut. It's Brooklyn.
Well, Aliaa, it feels like that way sometimes, okay? I'm just telling you. It's a journey. And I get lost when I go to Brooklyn every time. I don't know how I've been living here for almost 10 years and I still get lost every time I go to Brooklyn. You would think I would have learned it by now. Like, I know where I'm going. But for some reason, I still get lost. And then you look at me and you're like, yeah, I know you track me. You're just like, where the fuck is he going? Like, where do you? I'm like, I'm going in circles. And I'm like,
hell.
And I'm like, he's like, you've been here before. I'm like, girl, I don't remember. I'm sorry. I can't remember where I'm at.
Yeah. But that's one thing that I love also about you. You make an effort, right? Even going back to the NYU days when I was even in my MBA studying,
Yeah.
And you left to Florida and then you came back. Like,
Okay, you
even
were
when
so
you were
devastated. You were so devastated.
yeah, so devastated. You're like, oh, I'm leaving to Florida.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. But yeah, you went to Florida, but you still keep in contact. Again, we don't talk to each other quite often, or
Yeah.
even a lot, like 3-4 months goes by and we don't talk to each other. But
Right.
when I text you, say, hey, Doug, how are you? Or even when you
Yeah.
text me sometimes, it's just like, it's seamless, right? Because
Yeah.
we know that we need to be in each other's life, and we like respect each other, and
Hmm.
even like small things like that is just it
And I
makes a
think
big
it's
difference, really.
also the fact of it's ever evolving and growing. I feel like our relationship has, it's usually a trace amigos between the three, me, you, and Shauna, but I think it's
Yeah,
also just learning the different levels of like community and seeing different things.
yeah,
Like I'm meeting some of your friends, you're meeting some of my crazy
exactly.
ass friends, but like, it's a level of like, it's a level of openness and learning. And I'm like, and I appreciate that because we're always learning. That's what I'm saying. Like our
We're
friendship, we've been
growing.
friends for years, but we always are learning something about one another. We're learning how to really understand each other. We're having our great times and our best times, our worst times. But I guess the one thing is like we always find a way to make it work. We
Yeah,
find a way
exactly.
to talk about it and figure it out because I don't want to imagine a world without you in it. But it's also like I have to respect
Same.
your time and your life, and you got shit going on, and that's okay. And I think I think at one point when I moved to, speaking of Red Hook, I had to like reevaluate my life and like start all over. I didn't start all over, but like realize like I had the same issue. No one wants to come to Red Hook and visit, and this and I had to make new friends. I had to do all these different things. I'm like, I had to sit with myself and be like,
Yeah,
all right, this is a new normal for me for right now. If I'm gonna get out of this, let
I
me
have to like,
take a step
yeah,
back and figure out what to do to get out of that. But also, it was a
yeah.
good level of reflection at the same time. Not putting Red Hook down. I think it was a great city, a lot of great food place. It's just like further
It's
out.
like really up and coming right
It
now for Red
is,
Hook,
yeah.
but it's hard to get to.
It's hard
That's
to
for
get to,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that level of I like to say my solitude in a way, because all my friends were like in Manhattan. Oh, yeah, some friends. You were still in Brooklyn, but it was like it's
Yeah,
still
I
hard
was
to
in
get to.
Brooklyn.
It's still hard
Yeah,
to get to. So I think.
I was not in Brooklyn. I was in Manhattan.
Oh no, that's right. You were, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a time to really reflect. And I think I appreciated my friends who just kind of gave me that space to do that. And sometimes you have to be harsh with your friends, but I think that's because you love them. And I think
You have open communication,
you
really.
have to have communication. And you have to be like, you're not going to always see eye to eye on stuff. You got to be comfortable to just be like, and be a little uncomfortable to talk about certain topics. I have some friends who are like, well, we know a certain someone, won't say her name, but it was like, oh, well, you don't want to hang out with us. And like, you won't bring me around. I said, there's a reason I don't bring you around, because you cause chaos. And so
Yeah.
why would I bring you around? And it's
Yeah.
okay to understand there's some friends you can hang out with one-on-one, and that's okay. It's okay. That could be a friend that you hang out one-on-one with, that you have your journey, you guys go do your thing, that's fine. You have your other friends you hang out with that you can bring around. You know me, I host everything. I'm always bringing people around and connecting
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But it's hard sometimes because these bitches don't like each other. And I think that's one of my hardest things is like when tension happens, is that a lot of my friends do not like each other. And I wish in an ideal utopian world, I could bring everyone together. We could just sit and break bread and just hang out. But that's not reality.
No, I think in any friend group, like when you actually mash everyone together, that's like, oh, I've been friends with Aliaa for like 20 years, and I've been friends with Aliaa for 3 years, but we're so close, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they have this version of you in their head, and then they're like, oh, he's mine, she's mine, and kind of thing. But as long as you're like, hey, Aliaa grown so much, but she's still keeping contact with all of us, just want to be together. This is her life right now, so she is bringing everyone together, birthday or non-birthdays. I don't know, I just feel like it's a beauty of having friends of many facet of the world, really, or interests. Because you do have like your Disney friends, right? And then you have your New York friends or your Brooklyn friends. And then you have, again, me and Shauna and all of that. So we all are different, but as long as we go and like hang out with you, it's because of you.
Right. Or the level of connection you want to have, and realizing that there's different friends for different groups. I think sometimes people feel like your friend has to be for everything. Like that's not what needs to happen. Like that's not a reality. We're not in high school or middle school.
I think we talked about this before too. I mean, I think I kind of voiced it out where, friendship need to have, you can have your forever friend, obviously, and everyone have that forever friend.
Yeah.
But there's friends that like, why would I invite you to Pilates when I know that you don't like Pilates, right? So like, why would I invite you to go to EDM when I know that you're paying $300 but you don't like EDM? So you have people that can like fit a certain place in your life to make sure that you're happy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that your love is any less to any other friends.
It's not. No. I agree with that. It's like I invite you to Disney every year, you never go, but you hate Disney. But I get it though. Like that's like, you realize that's my thing. It's not your thing, you know? And I that's just different. Doesn't mean I love you any less. It's just not your thing.
Your thing. It's not my thing. Exactly. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going there.
No.
Yeah, not like I don't love you. I love you.
That's like my friends who invite me to Coachella. I'm like, I'm not going because I would just not enjoy it. Like,
why would
I don't
you like pay that much money when you don't enjoy it?
I mean, maybe for the gram, I would probably do it. But then I'm like, is it really that serious to do it for the gram if I'm not going to have fun? Because I think there's nothing against music festivals. I just, myself personally, if I lose my friends or just, you probably meet new people that were there too, but I'm like, it's such a chaotic mess where I'm just like, if you lose someone, you got no service. I can see this artist online. I don't give two shits. Like, then everyone's like tired and being a mess and you taking care of people. I'm like, I don't have time.
Yeah.
Not me, you know, not me. Now, some people might enjoy that. And I think this is an experience that you probably experience it. Should I maybe experience Coachella one year? I haven't got to a part in my life where I want to do that, but I'm never going to say never. It's just not on top of my list. It's at the bottom of my list, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like for you, you have a lot of friends, right? I mean, and you also, knowing you're very easy to strike a conversation with anyone.
I don't even think that at all. I feel like you guys think
know that about you. First of all, the way that I believe in you with your podcast, I'm believing you in this.
I know, because like I feel like I don't do that enough. I feel like I have hype friends, like probably you and Sean and like a few other friends are the hype friends. Like we go out and they're like, I will have a conversation. Like I'm not a standoffish person, not anymore. But like now I kind of let my friends kind of lead the conversation and I kind of lean in with it. But I also realized, and we'll get into our next topic, which is travel, is that I had to learn when you travel, there's different cultures, different ways of talking, and realize it's not offensive. I think maybe part of me was a little bit New Yorker where people come up to you like, why are you talking? Like, I don't know you, you know, but then you realize you go different places and you're like, oh shit, that's just normal to do. You just go and talk to someone. You're like, oh.
That's how I love also traveling, right? I mean, that's another topic if you're coming, unless you want to ask that conversation.
Yeah.
But it's like traveling, it makes you be out of your comfort zone. Yes. And then you go, like I was in Paris. I was in Paris for work, but I had 2 days off from my crazy coworkers because they went somewhere else. So I was alone. I didn't make any reservation. I didn't do anything else except for being like, just walk around. And I'm like, oh, that restaurant looks good. That bar looks good. I just go in and then I just like make a conversation. You have to.
And it probably was really good and refreshing to do that. And you get to really understand, like you taught me this and you and Shauna both did, was like, cause you guys travel so much. I was a newbie baby and be like, I don't know what I'm doing out here, but now I've gotten more confident. But like, when I was in London, I did the same thing where I was like, okay, I'm still a little nervous, you know, not that I need to be nervous. London's like New York anyway, but it's, you're in your own space. So you're like, let me go into this bar. Let me see what it says. And like, I realized at this point, I don't like crowded bars. I don't like a crazy pub. I like a nice little cocktail lounge. I could sit down. I could have my drink. I could just be a little classy, a little trashy, you know, like it just like relax. Yeah. And it was great because the bar I went to, it was so fun because I got the chance to talk with the bartenders, learn about the city, you know, because
that's how you know people and that's how you make conversation.
And I was like, I talked to myself. I think I texted you and I was like, I guess I can do this. I was like, I guess this isn't different, you know, but as you said, I think traveling teaches you that is what it's about and just getting out of your comfort zone, but also just learning and obviously being safe.
Learn about yourself.
Don't do crazy stuff, you know, but like I took a stroll along the river in London, just took a walk and I was like, Thames. This is beautiful. Thames. I was like, oh, this is nice, you know, and I appreciate it, understand it. I mean, obviously the reasons why I'm doing it, which will be revealed later on, but it was a chance to me I used to do what they call, you do really more than me do with solo trips, but I used to do partial solo trips because I'm still not fully comfortable having a full trip on my own. I respect my friends who do it. I kind of envious of them about it. But I
do
do
it
like,
all the time.
you do it all the time. But I do like a couple of days on my own. And then I have a friend come with me and then like, my partner in the case is.
You
but
still
like,
need that bubble of safety
I still
net.
need a bubble. I need a safety net. I'm going to get better. I am working on it because John gets my case about this. And I keep telling him because whatever, he grew up over there. So of course he knows how to freaking travel around the world with a backpack and whatever. But I'm like, you have to realize for me, like I've been such a social person. I've been such in a group. I've been kind of like in this eclectic kind of bubble of like, I don't need to do much. I can just kind of go with my group and like, I'm good, to where I have to all of a sudden learn to just like, oh, it's me. But then it's fun because then I can say, oh, I want to go to this museum. All right, I'm done. I want to leave. Or, oh, I like that restaurant.
Because it's your schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I started realizing because I worked at Disney, I made friends from around the world. So almost every city I freaking go to, someone or another, I met someone that worked at Disney.
So you and I kind of have the same thing because a lot of my friends are international. So I go to London, I have friends. I go to Paris. Yes, I have friends too that I met for like a drink, but it's like anywhere you go, and if I scroll my Instagram, I'm like, oh, I have someone in Norway. You know what I mean? Like,
it's not bragging. It's just the fact that you've made friends on the way. And I think in New York City a lot too. Like you make friends on different planes, and it's like, and then they're like, hey, if you're ever over this side of the world, because New York's such a melting pot, everyone comes over here to visit and see New York. You build these connections with people. That's the one thing I think New York is so powerful for, is that, and you can meet so many different people from around the world and still make the connection and just be like, hey, I'm at your door. I'm in your city. They're like, oh, hey, come on in.
Also just give yourself like a pat on back too, because you're a good person. So people will hang out with.
Who told you that?
You are. I've been friends with you for a very long time, for like a decade.
Oh, so, you can't be telling people that. Shit. It's a secret.
More friends for you.
Oh God. Let me get my assistant out here and schedule some things.
Yeah, your Siri.
Yeah, my Siri. Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, that's how I love traveling alone, and you love traveling alone, and then you just like, you just have to be social. Yeah. In the end, even if you don't want to be social, you have to be like, hey, what's the best thing to do here? Whatever. You like have that conversation, and then you're like, oh, I am not, as for me at least, I'm not.
Apparently your connection is gone. Oh, now you're back though, so you're good.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had technical difficulties, but we're back. But we're back.
Hi.
Welcome back. But no, take two, the real world of podcasting. But no, I totally agree with you. Traveling does do that. I think it really does open your eyes to a lot of stuff, and I really appreciate that level of like understanding. And I think in the last year, like I said, it's mostly you and Sean have like kind of opened my eyes to that, but also just other friends I met along the way too, and just kind of push myself and getting out there. And at some of my friends from Disney, we had a trip to freaking the Highlands in Scotland, and we went to Amsterdam. We were just like, we're going to do this. We're going to get together, have this weekend, and just took it all in. And it was just nice to kind of see those cultures kind of blend together and connect. Yeah. So I thought it was so amazing to like have that. So what is one thing that you would say you have taken away from traveling that has been very fundamental in you as a person and your growth?
Not being judgmental and really taking a day by itself and like really try to explore, because again, to me, traveling is very pivotal for everyone's growth. You have to travel. You don't have to travel internationally. You can travel, you can travel to upstate New York or whatever you want.
Absolutely. In your own backyard.
But I think
definitely,
yeah, but I think like travel definitely will teach you a lot of that about yourself. So what about you?
I think I learned to be a little more independent and do a little more discovery. You know me, like one of my ultimate jobs, if I ever had it, was to work for Nat Geo, and just like be a photographer, travel the world, and go to different places. Like I've always just loved that about just what they do and what it's about. But I think I've learned to just take in different cultures and take in that culture and learn so much from it. and learn to try things outside of my comfort zone. I'm really picky when it comes to food. I'm really picky about a lot of stuff. But I've learned over time, when you're in certain places, you should try new things. Now, you're not going to like it. You may hate it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But so I think you got to at least try it for once to be what it's about, understand the connection. Like, I watched your show last night on, what was it, Malaysian TV? Or the network?
Malaysian TV.
Yeah, and I was just like, damn, that food looks fucking good. Like, I was like, this is good. But, like, it's like getting outside the comfort of food and realizing food is very international and transcending and, like, a connection. It's like the same food you could probably make here. It is different cultures, different levels.
Yeah.
But it's something that's so good about it, you know, and I love that about food. I mean, there's such a level of culture that goes into what it is. And I love that when I saw you do it, I was like, oh, that's so amazing to kind of see your culture, see that. I still don't like your guacamole because it's hot as fuck. But I think ideally...
Yeah, I always make guacamole, like, spicy. And
I don't
like it.
I'm like,
a lot of people do.
You need to make me one little small batch where it's like, I'm not...
Yeah, before I put the jalapeno.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's, again, going back to traveling, making me, like, not be so judgmental, because different culture have different ways of doing things. So all you have to do is just embrace different culture and just like try it, like whatever. Sometimes when you travel, things doesn't go your way, and it's fine because
improvise.
You cannot plan every single thing. You can plan as much, but sometimes it'd be like, you know what, I don't want to do that. Like, can we do something else?
Oh my God, I feel like Shauna's going to kill me, but she's such a planner in the group. I love her for it, but she's gotten better. I would say she's learned to like deviate from the plan a little bit. But her and my friend Melissa, we were going to Disney in May, and she has literally have an outline of everything we're doing. And I'm just like, oh God. And it's fun. Don't get me wrong. We have a great time, but I like I said, I appreciate it for it. But what I appreciate about both of them is that they learn to be like, hey, I know my audience. They go with me. It's like, I love that idea, but then it's okay if we like do something a little different. And we've been having a great time doing that, which I think is great.
Yeah.
It's hard. You have some friends who are just like, oh my God, like buy the tea to do this and that. And I'm like,
8 a.m. Let's go.
And I'm like, no, can I sleep? Like, you know what I mean? Like
what? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
what?
You know, but I like the flexibility. I like a plan, but I like a flexible plan, you know, and options, which is always great to have. I love that.
I think when you travel, are you a vacationer or are you a traveler? So people keep on asking, right? Like, what are you? Because a traveler is literally like, okay, I need to check all the boxes that this is where I'm traveling. Vacationer, it's like, okay, I'm going to this restaurant, but I'm going to take leisurely time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and then walk, but I do have 1 p.m. appointment for this museum. That is vacation. You know what I mean? Like, you don't cram every single thing into one day.
No, God, no. I mean, you can, but I just feel like you burn yourself out. And I think I've tried to do that. And it's like, oh my fucking God. Like, you got to give yourself time for rest, you know?
You have to rest. That's why you travel.
Yeah, and I realize you can't do everything. It's okay. You can't do everything. But as long as you get to do as much as you can, that's the takeaway from it. You made an effort. You added something to your ballot you didn't have. And then if anything, when you go back, you can add that to your list, something you say, hey, I didn't get you.
Like, hey, I'm coming back. Let's do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do appreciate that. All right. Well, this has been amazing. I guess my last question would be to use, if you talk about careers topic, what have you loved the most about your job now? I guess we both can say this because I think we both are in a good place in our jobs, at least for right now. I'm knocking on wood.
I think like I love my career. Like I think I've grown into my career, and now being in Aliaa and Olivia, I have the community of people that I'm working with, and then the challenge. You need challenge. If you're bored in your job, there's something wrong there.
Start talking. Get talking. So figure something out. Yeah.
I think the challenge comes in, and it's like fun challenges. So you're like, I'm on my toes all the time. You meet a lot of people. Again, I love the way that fashion is evolving right now, where again the minority is coming in. Like a lot of people of color.
Man, people
are like, that's so much stuff that's happening. We have pride and stuff like that. Like, you know, I feel I don't know, I'm just proud of being in fashion and my career trajectory is because a lot of things that's happened. But what about you?
I think I love that I have a job where I have a champion or a boss that's really behind me and pushes me to do better. I think it's good. It's sort of like a mentorship. I have a team that's like is a very mentorship, which I think is the number one thing that's happening in these jobs today. That there's no level of mentorship with people outside of like an internship. But like, when you're already in a career, I feel like there should be some level of mentorship that should be that helps you grow. And I think I found a company that does that. I think a lot of it, in my opinion, because it's not a US based company, so there's a balance of like work-life balance. They're an Australian based company, but it's like it's hard work, but it's like it's not so hard where like they don't respect the fact that you have time off. I think one of the biggest things for me, and you probably notice, is like coming from the world of entertainment, which is totally different. I am not as stressed as I was. And there's a balance of like work and your personal life and really having that work-life balance, which I think is so important to have. People kind of overlook that. I think it's really important that a company really values that and just values you as a person, I think, and doesn't treat you like a number. I think some of these big corporations, you're just a number, you're just in a group, and that's really it. Our company's still big. I'm not saying that I'm well known, but I do feel like our company is good about if you have a question, you want to do something, people are willing to give you answers as long as you're willing to reach out. Like you are in control of your destiny, which a lot of companies that's not a thing for some people. So I appreciate that aspect of that it's a you have a question, you have an idea, they really take it seriously, they really see where they can put you and really foster that sense of growth. And it's a good team of people too. Except for a few bosses that get on my nerves, but
but it's a community, right?
It's
like
community.
I said, community is the people, like my boss and like the people that it's actually making my life at work not miserable. That's one. And then making sure that my path going into my career is going to somewhere in the company, or like really taking care of my health. It's like if I want to have a vacation, take it or whatever, because that's very, very important. So again, absolutely. Tying back to from the beginning of the conversation of like community is very important. It's the people.
It is
in the end. So
it's true. And you're my community.
You're my community.
So I'll see you next month on. No.
Let's. What?
Let me check my calendar. Let's see you.
Check the calendar right now.
I think we've done better though. We've been doing like at least once a month, which I think is. I know that sounds crazy to people out there that think that's, but that's actually pretty good for us. I think
it's actually really good. I have friends that's like, they don't even see their close friends for 3 months.
Right. Yeah.
So we
like try to fit in when we can, but at least we have a dinner once a month. We try to do a group dinner. It's so hard though. Like everyone's schedule is just crazy. It's so hard sometimes. I looked at my calendar now, and now they've been doing more podcasting. I'm like, my friend was like, "Oh, we should get out and do this." And so I'm like, "Listen, I have a very set schedule, but also I do have room for flexibility. So like, there's that weeks I'm not busy. So like, if you catch me on an off week, count yourself lucky.
You don't have it. Yeah, exactly.
You're good. Like you got some DAC for the weekend, so good for you. But like, it's not. It's like a rarity. Like now, it's like I've become a commodity now. Like people just like wanting my time all the time. No.
Yeah, you're busy too. I mean, I'm not the only one. But again, when you're busy, I'm busy and trying to like fit our schedule. I'm like, when is it?
I think we just put a calendar out for both of us and just say, here's my link. Find
this is my calendar link.
Find a link, find a time, and then just go. This is my social hour.
There's also the meme out there, whatever, and be like, okay, well, being an adult, seeing your friends, it's like having a calendar invite. It's like, yes.
That's when you know you made it. It's like, oh, I'm on the calendar.
Exactly.
Yeah. And no, it changes.
You're on your calendar.
Yeah, and it changes. Life happens. Things go on, but you know what? I guess I think what's good is like we try our best to make up for it, because I try not to ever fully cancel on people unless I really have to, because I never want to be considered a flake. But sometimes you just can't avoid it.
Sometimes you can't avoid it.
My problem is that is one of my problems that I overbook myself and I forget about that.
You overbook so much
because I don't have an assistant. I forget sometimes, so then I'm like, oh shit, you're here. I'm like, oh fuck, someone else is visiting. And my friends are like, typical dad. Just things to see everybody doing what wants to do, and I'm like.
It is typical you though, but you're getting better at that.
I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to
I mean, I know it's only going to be April, so this year you're better than last year.
Oh,
not double booking yourself.
I appreciate the confidence. I'm getting there. Well, anyway, thank you for being on. I love you, and please feel free to come back anytime you like. This has been wonderful to catch up. It's almost like if we were just like hanging out. It's kind of
we are. Anyway. I mean, that's the beauty of, again, your podcast. The way that you kind of do your podcast is a conversation, and it's not really, like a structure, and which I think it's very refreshing.
I appreciate that. Well, I will make you proud. I'll keep pushing, and I'll keep growing, and I'll keep the fight going.
I love you, and I'm so proud of you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on, and all the best. And we'll get you on my calendar next month.
Calling me right now.